Hey everybody, happy Maycember. I'm Emily, I'm from Chasing Simple, and I am feeling the itch to get rid of a bunch of stuff. Fill my car up with donations in preparation for a more peaceful summer around my house. And so if you'd like to join me, I will be decluttering in real time. I'll kind of talk you through what I'm doing, and we'll get this done together. So over on my side, I have my bedside table drawer that sometimes gets to be a real thing. So I already read this book, so I'll pass that along. This little card I can toss. My son is really not needing this cereal cup anymore, so this could be a donation. This was kind of a fun little thing to find out how it is that the whole world is talking about men's and women's roles these days, and I guess not really men's and women's roles, but shared work of the household. And so that was kind of cool to see what people think of as those things, and it actually was kind of encouraging. It made me feel like things were maybe more equitable in my home than I had previously thought. So that's always a nice thing to realize. And you know, I'm always stunned at how much just trash there is when you do this little clean out, because it's just like you accumulate stuff, or like, you know, the pedicure people give you this and make you think that your feet are going to be amazing, and you find out like only if I keep coming back to get a pedicure all the time, which is ideal. So I think that that is kind of everything. One of the things I like to do when I'm tidying up is just to kind of have a project bin like this. I ordered new refills for it, but I didn't know where the pen was, so now I do. So I'll stick that in a project bin, and then tomorrow I'll kind of go through anything that's in there that I could do as a to-do item, but it keeps me from kind of getting stuck and doing that kind of thing in the middle of my decluttering. We just did some updates to our bathroom, so most of our bathroom is pretty tidy, but some of the bathroom mess kind of made it into the closet, so we'll tackle that in a minute. And then also underneath our bathroom cabinet, there's quite a bit of things, so I'm just going to take those things out real quick and just kind of see if there's anything I can get rid of. So this is micellar water, and I never use it. Didn't even remember that I had it, so I'm gonna get rid of that. This is trash. And this is glass, so don't really consider it to be super safe in our bathroom anymore now that we have a child. So I'm gonna just repurpose that and put it downstairs for if I need it for another storage. This is really not my domain. It's like my husband's little weird coffee bar that's right next to a bathroom. But I just tidied it up, and this tape and these scissors are from me, so I'll go ahead and put those away. I have to leave a room in order to put some things away. I always look to see, is there anything else that I could take with me? And I see I have a few tools left over from my bathroom project, so I'll take those with me as well. Okay, I've been getting a little bit lazy because I've got a few things that I don't have on hangers that I just threw up in here. And so I need to put some stuff on hangers, and while I'm at it, I'll go ahead and just kind of put things back together by color. And I'll also check and see if there's anything that I'm not really wearing that isn't really flattering, and go ahead and get rid of it. truth, this really doesn't fit super well, and I already cut the tag off, so I'm gonna go ahead and donate that. If you hear whining, it's my dog. I would like to declutter her, but from what I hear, she is staying, so sorry, animal lovers. These are my sandals from last year. They are pretty well worn, so those can just get trashed. They are beyond their ability to just be donated. And I keep leggings up in a little bin here. I did find a dish and a bathroom product, so I'll put those away. So I bought a couple of things, actually getting kind of completely influenced and trying to like see if I can do the new jean trends. I cannot. And some things that look good on other people's bodies but don't look good on mine. So since I realize I won't actually wear these and they still have tags on them, I might as well return them while I still can. So I'm going to do that. I'm just looking to see if there's anything else that would be donated. I got this in my Stitch Fix box last year and it's really just unflattering, so I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of that. And as you can see, I'm not real tied to anything, and I don't really worry about if I spent money on it and if I feel guilty about it and I wish my body did fit into it. Can't deal with that. Just have to get it out of my house because I certainly don't need it here to make any of that better. That doesn't help. Looks a little bit better. I am pleased with the progress, and certainly the floor looks better. I just tidied up things that are on the floor that are my husband's. I don't tend to be a big floor storer. So I definitely feel like my son's room is just always kind of a thing that needs addressing because he's growing out of things, he's growing into things, seasons change, he's not necessarily going to use something the following year. So doing my son's room is always a big priority when I'm decluttering. The book situation has definitely gotten a little bit out of control, but some of them just because he's just outgrown them, I think, or potentially we could say that. And I just want to pack them away like in my grandma box of things that I would like to still have when I'm a grandma for future grandchildren. Hopefully that'll be a thing. And then, and not all of them, but maybe just like the board books and ones that my son, you know, particularly enjoyed. I think it would be nice to keep those. And these other ones I feel like he still enjoys. This one I might give away because I'm not in love with it. And then mostly right now we read a ton of Franklin books and Berenstain Bear books, and so I just think that since that's mostly what we're reading, then we could kind of stick with that. But I'm gonna keep the books, these paperbacks that he still enjoys. And then the other ones I'll go ahead and pass along because they're not really things that we are enjoying a whole lot anymore. And then we have the Berenstain Bear situation. And I love Berenstain Bear books. I think they're really cute. And so I am the problem. But my son also reads one every single night and sometimes two. So I'm into them. I think it's fun to have them. And so they've become a bit of a collection, but they're well used for sure. And these are books that I would certainly save for the future as well. So books, I mean, it's just fun to have like a library of kids' books, and it's memorable to read them. I mean, I've enjoyed reading some of the books from my childhood with my son, and so, you know, I kind of want to be able to continue to do that. So I'm just going to put Berenstain Bear books and Franklin books in those two spots, and then I do have a couple of hardcover Berenstain Bear books, which I might actually get rid of these because the stories are really different. They're like before the Bear family happened, and I don't know if I'm into that. I made these for my son, but he really doesn't play with those anymore, so I feel like we could get rid of that. And these are just various toy parts, so maybe we could get rid of that too. These are headphones for his Tony box, which he never uses, and so I think we can just get rid of that. These are all of his Tonys. We'll keep those. And this bin is empty, so that feels better already. Activities and that kind of thing in. I had aspirations of my child doing quiet time, which doesn't always happen. These two tiny pillows he never uses. We'll go ahead and get rid of those. So I have like activities for quiet time in here, and I want quiet time to happen. So I'm not 100% sure that I'm ready to let this go, because I mean, this would be nice if he would consider it, and don't necessarily feel like I'm totally in control of my child at this point. So maybe for now, I will just kind of restore some order to all of this, and then I'll kind of know that if this doesn't seem like anything's happening with it in the future, that we can maybe move this along. So let me just go ahead and kind of group like items together and get it ready, and hopefully I can figure out quiet time here in the future. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, and it just seems like sometimes it's a whole lot more effort than it's really worth. So that is my main beef with quiet time. But those are great activities, and they're pretty open-ended. Honestly, a lot of them are things that I would probably save beyond just him. So these are glow-in-the-dark stars. We use those as rewards for staying in his bed. But I think I can throw away the trash from that. And then those are the cord that go with the Tony headphones I mentioned earlier. So I will give those away with the Tony headphones. And these are various parts to various little tiny toys. A pair of scissors, which admittedly should probably not be in a 4-year-old's bedroom unattended, so we'll go ahead and tuck those away and put these various little toy bits away. Okay, the infamous stuffed animal bin. A lot of these are actually my parents, and so I want to get rid of ones, well, take them back to my parents' house if they're for their house, because really there's no reason for us to hold on to them. But like this teddy bear is kind of gross. So is this Marshall. So I'm just gonna get rid of both of those, and we'll just keep a handful of these for when he wants to play with stuffed animals. So take a couple of these to my parents and a couple of them to the donation center. Okay, this is my son's nightstand, which we use as a dresser, and that works pretty well. We are still having a few days that are chillier, so for now I am going to keep the long sleeve shirts. We've got some sensory issues, so this is the collection of shirts that I purchased that he is unwilling to wear. So I'm going to go ahead and just get over it and move on, because there's no reason for me to try to keep track of all of that. And I'm going to go ahead and just put pants in this drawer, and I'll put shorts in the other drawer. And I just have a couple of pairs of shorts, and I think that will work really nicely. And then the shirts he is okay with wearing will just hang in his closet. This is my son's closet, and it has become a little bit of a dumping ground, so we'll go ahead and take care of that. These bins hold things that he's outgrown and I'll be giving away to someone specific, and then things that he has not yet grown into and I want to keep them. Those are like memories and artwork. And so I'm thinking about getting rid of this little table. I like it, but we really don't have a great spot for it. So I don't know, maybe I will move it down into the playroom and decide, because we use it when our small group comes over, and that is about it. So I'm gonna go ahead and take the nugget sofa and the table down to the playroom, so that at least things are kind of tidied up in this closet anyways. Okay, I forgot to turn the camera on, but I did get rid of a few more clothes from his closet that are just like on the smaller side for pants. And I was going under my underbed storage bins, and good thing I did, because I found like all kinds of baby blankets. He definitely doesn't use those anymore, so gonna go ahead and get rid of a lot of baby bedding. And then I found some things that are kind of like preschool at home sort of activities that he has enjoyed, but I think I'm ready to pass along to it. I'm keeping my donation bin in here, so if you're wondering what the giant box is, that's what it is. And this is our bath toy system, which has gotten a little bit out of control because we've been working on our bathroom, and so my son has been kind of in between bathrooms a little bit as we've been in that process of doing all kinds of moving around and not being able to have use of that bathtub while we were doing it. And so I kind of treat it like a little bit of a library, and I just have like certain bath toys in certain bins, and then I tell him that he is welcome to choose which bin he'd like to have things from. And that works pretty well. I would say I definitely feel like it's a good system. The one thing about it that is not good is if you're a mom who at the end of the day just kind of feels like, look, why are you taking more than one bin, you know? And I do feel that way, and yet I don't really ever do a whole lot about it. So because of that, then sometimes things do get mixed up, and this is the kind of thing that like I don't really need to care about, and I could just kind of let it go, and maybe I will. But it does work when it works, and so I always kind of feel tempted to stick with it. But yeah, this is an especially bad example of how things kind of just get out of order. But I'm just gonna quickly sort them, get them back into order, and hopefully we'll be able to move along from this minor inconvenience. faster than I thought. As with all decluttering tasks, I'm always astonished at the amount of time I spend procrastinating them. They're really just not that big of a deal. So once again, just putting things back in here, and this will serve us well as we have baths in the future. I do have this little bath toy organizer thing, and I am going to pass that along because that stresses me out. It's always out, it's visible. I don't like the way it looks. And so, as I've mentioned, so much of this quarterly declutter is honestly just noticing that things are out of place and going ahead and putting them back in place. So it is decluttering, it is trashing things, but also it's just like, oh, in the midst of our little bathroom project, I was showering in here, so now I can go ahead and move these things back into our bathroom. Okay, this is my laundry cabinet, and usually this is just kind of an opportunity for me to like refill things. So I do have some of this OxyClean powder right over here, and so I'll just go ahead and empty the rest of this into my pretty container for it, and then that way that's done and I can get rid of what remains of it, and it just kind of keeps things looking a little bit more tidy. So that is an empty box, so we'll get rid of that as well. And then most of the items in this little turntable are things that are my husband's. That's why it's in a clear turntable, because otherwise he would have no idea that we had them. So it's just a way to kind of live with him in an understanding way. But I do use this little stain remover, so I'll keep that out for myself. And then I am going to go ahead and grab one of these bulbs. We bought a ton of these. They're our kitchen light bulbs, and that way they're always the same because we don't want one light to look different than another. So I just noticed one of those is out, so I'm going to just go ahead and stick one of those in my to-do pile for now, and that way I don't forget about that later on. So other than that, this looks totally fine. Okay, and then this is a bin of things that specifically goes to one friend in particular. So clothes, she has a son that's younger than mine, and she always takes all of our clothes that are extra. And then all of the like homeschooling a preschooler learning activities are in here. She's actually a homeschooler, so she'll really enjoy those things. I am not. I just received them from a friend and enjoyed using them as an additional activity with my son. Okay, we're pretty much at the halfway point. We're downstairs now. I started upstairs because tomorrow I'll have sleeping people, so if I don't finish it, then I wanted to go ahead and get that done. And so I'm just gonna go through cabinets in my kitchen and that kind of thing. Generally speaking, there's not a whole lot that I get rid of in my kitchen. I feel like it's pretty pared down, but I do have things in like each of our individual drawers that often need to be put away. So join me, and this will be pretty fast. Okay, so if you haven't seen this before, my son, my husband, and I all have kind of our own drawers, and we use these to like collect stuff that we probably should have gotten rid of instead of collecting it. But it does work really well because it just gives like a landing spot for that sort of thing, which I really appreciate. And then, I mean, also a lot of times it's stuff like this where it's like junky toys from fast food meals, that kind of thing. And so this always reveals to me like, hey, this looks like a pretty good time to go ahead and get rid of all sorts of junky toys and straws and stuff like that. So that's an easy toss for sure. And then often there's like little parts to various toys, and those things you can go ahead and just put away. So Lincoln Logs, something from the Resurrection Eggs. I think we have too many sunglasses, but to be honest, they have kind of come in handy before to have so many, so I think I'm gonna hold on to those. Some things in here are just like not necessary for this drawer. Like his daily vitamin we can keep in here, but I don't think that we need to keep like our thermometer and that kind of thing. I would never think to look for it in here. Sometimes I throw like a half-eaten Snicker or cookie in here if I think he's gonna return to it later that day, and then I forget about it until right now when I'm cleaning something out in front of the internet. I do keep balls in there because I really do not like those to be found and thrown at things kind of without me knowing about it. And then he has a little bit of money in here, so I will move that to his little place where I keep his money. And I do have just like a few little crumbs and sprinkles in here, so I'll go ahead and wipe that out. I'm not really cleaning, but this is the sort of thing that, you know, once I fill this up again with other stuff, I'm not gonna know that I have sprinkles in this drawer, so might as well deal with it now. Though, tell you what, this is not the tool for the job. It'd be better to use a little vacuum cleaner, but I'm not gonna do that, because if I do that, I just will choose not to eat about it. So we'll just do that, that'll be easy. And then I'm really not finding myself using this book very much, so I'm gonna put that with things that I'm giving to my friend who does some homeschooling stuff, because she might enjoy that. And then before I deal with all of that stuff, I'm just gonna take a quick peek. I have my small appliance cabinet down here, and I'm just gonna do a quick straighten on this and just kind of get things back into order. I do have a small appliance in here that I'm really not using, and that is my almond milk. It's called an almond cow. I do like it. I'm just not in a season where I'm feeling like it's something that I use because it feels like too much effort. So that's fine. I feel like it's fine for me to keep it here because there's room for it to be here, and so I am just gonna keep it in the same location because I feel like there's no reason for me to move it down to the basement. Because if I were ever like out of almond milk or something and I just needed to make some, I would never be willing to go down to my basement. So yeah, might as well just not bother with that. This is a little bin where I keep like cords to appliances and attachments to it, and so just wanted to slide that in. This drawer here is my husband's, and so we will leave that to him. That is none of my business. I just put things in there. I don't actually retrieve things. Okay, this is just my silverware drawer. So there is a tiny bit of trash in there, but other than that, this I would expect is gonna be, yeah, just fine. And then this is my kitchen towels drawer. And other than maybe a quick straighten, which honestly that looks fine. That one doesn't need anything. This is my son's drawer, and that one tends to need a little bit more. So that's a cup he won't drink out of, so might as well quick keep that in here. And that dish got pretty pretty, so we'll do that. Don't keep cookie cutters in here, so we'll get rid of that one too. And then these are some glass cups that he enjoys using. Other than that, that looks just fine by my standards. Okay, this is one where I keep my like baking types of supplies in, and this looks fine. I don't really have any of these little reusable cupcake holder things anymore. Like I just have two, so I'll go ahead and get rid of those. This is my drawer, and it's not great, so but most of this is stuff that is fairly actionable, so I will keep it in here because this is certainly where I would look for it. I would not look for these little letter stamps, this Lego, or these sunglasses in here, so I will go ahead and move those things along. This is just my plastic wrap storage. I think that all looks fine. This is kind of a rogue bag, but otherwise that seems just fine. And then this is my spices, and I do usually just check really quick to see is there anything that I'm running low on, because that way I can put it on my grocery list if so. So it's just an easy visual, and I don't always take the time to look at this kind of thing at another time. So this way I can restock on my next grocery pickup, and that would be very handy. Take a quick peek at these lower cabinets, and they look fine. Everything in there I use, that's my cookware. And this cabinet is working really well. I put in a little organizational system, and it has worked really, really well and kept this doom cabinet from being a doom cabinet. So we have a little bit of trash in there, so I'll take care of that. But I was like cooking utensils and that kind of thing. That looks fine, and just noticed that my microplane is not in its sleeve, so I'll go ahead and stick that in there because that's kind of a nice thing for safety. But other than that, this looks just fine to me. And then this one is more utensils, that all seems fine as well. Down here are things I use for cooking and meal prep, and just needed a little straightening. Looks good. So my wall cabinets, I honestly very rarely get rid of things in here because these are the things that we're really using on a daily basis. So I just kind of check and see if there's anything that needs rearranging or whatever, and this looks just fine. And then I don't keep anything up there. This cabinet is my food storage cabinet for the most part, and so you can just use a little bit of straightening, but other than that, I think this is just fine the way that it is. Can't really see anything I need to get rid of. I do have a friend who gave me some kind of special salt, and I'll just refill my salt jar with that. And quit living out of a plastic bag. And other than that, that looks just fine. So that cabinet will work just fine for me. Up here, I just keep my waffle iron and then like a milkshake maker, which is just a gift for my husband. I haven't used it in years, but I do think it's cute. So it's fun to get out during the summer. And then I keep like seasonal things in there, like popsicle molds and that kind of thing, which have been taken out for this season. Okay, I'm mostly done with my kitchen, but I do keep things in a couple of other places. So on the back of my island, I have vases, and I need to get these vases back to people who are expecting them returned. So I will kind of make a plan to do that. Those will go in my little projects bin, and then I can take care of that tomorrow when I'm taking my donations and such. Other than that, this one looks fine to me. And this one is also a bit of a project because I have not put away Easter stuff yet. So I need, and it's like mid-May. And so I need to just go through the eggs and clear them out and then have that. So I will go ahead and do that as a project as well. It's a little bit of a catch-all, and I am aware of it, but I do use it and like it, and so I am gonna keep using it that way probably, but I am gonna just go ahead and tidy up in here a little bit because this stuff doesn't need to be quite so cluttered, of course. Okay, I just keep like entertaining supplies, napkins, and that kind of thing in here, and then little miniature salt and pepper shakers. So I'll go ahead and just stick those there. I started putting these napkins down here, and that seems like just fine for an idea. So I'll go ahead and gather those up and stick those there. So that all looks fine. This pine cones, those seasonal decor as well. And then this is a bit of a catch-all, but it's actually catching only one category of items, and that is things that we use when we have people over. And a whole lot of these cups that my son doesn't use because he only likes red cups. But that's okay because other kids like other colors of cups, and this way I can even send kids home with a cup. So it is handy, and it does seem like people, when they come to our house, do not bring a cup for their child, which is fine, I don't care. But their kid is probably not as picky about cups as my kid is. So that's all fine. I'm just gonna put like with like. And this is honestly like what the decluttering thing is all about. It's not always getting rid of stuff. It's just like restoring order to spaces in your home. And if you can do this on a pretty regular basis, you'll just be astonished at like how much easier your house feels to deal with, because you're not like cramming things into a drawer and trying to figure out why that drawer will not close, because it's just fine, you know, because you've got everything kind of at least at some reasonable level of tidy. And I just think that's really handy. So yeah, just like stacking the plates instead of throwing them everywhere and stuff like that is quite helpful. And this is a red cup, but for a straw, so we'll save that for whenever that starts happening. And that looks just fine. I do have like a reusable silverware holder here somewhere, so I need to find that and stick that in there. Put this into this drawer as well. I discovered another lid that I do not need. Pantry has a serious state of junkiness to it right now, and again, it's just because of packaging, so I'm going to go ahead and take care of that. kind of returned things to at least some semblance of order. Now I'll go ahead and pull the baskets out and just do a quick look at those. Okay, I do use a bin that I call my dinner bin, and it is just things that like we're actively eating through that week. Like they're part of the meal plan, they're part of what I have planned for snacks for myself, that sort of thing. And so I just keep those things in here, and then if I don't really have an active plan for it, then I place them elsewhere. Sometimes there's a little bit of overlap between this and the next bin, so let's take care of this one before we put the other one away. And it is clear that I need to do a little overhaul here, but usually when I start to go through this and kind of put things where they belong, I quickly figure out it's not as bad as it looks. This one is my overflow bin, so I do use it for items that I have like an unopened package of, and that works fairly well. So if you haven't guessed, we had a little bit of a situation and prunes needed to be involved. Prunes were not involved because my son was certainly opted out, but prunes were attempted, okay? Okay, I am gonna go ahead and take out some of these garbanzo beans because I can use them in my meal plan this week, because I always use those in my salads. And then the rest of these are beans and tomato products that I don't have any active plans for. I don't have any peanut butter in my baking cart, so I'll add that. And I can also empty one of these oatmeals into this jar, because this is where I usually keep oats, and I'm currently out of it. And I'll use the rest of this bag up tomorrow when I do my meal prep, so I'll just go ahead and set that aside for now. I'll go ahead and move this iced tea to this bin because now that the weather is warmer, I enjoy using that kind of iced tea. And so I'm gonna have that available. And then these are items that I buy from Trader Joe's, and so they're like a little bit more hard to come by, and so I stock up on them when I'm there. These are gluten-free breadcrumbs. I imagine that in a couple months you'll watch me get rid of those because I never use them, but they were a little bit hard to find, so I'm thinking maybe that would be a good idea to store. And then the M&Ms I just use as rewards for my son, and so I keep them up high where he cannot get to them on his own. Okay, one more bin that feels somewhat related, and then I will wrap this up and put these away. But sometimes these kind of need to go to one another, so I like to be able to kind of have them all out so I can do that if needed. This is where I keep like fancier baking things that I don't really use all that often. Maybe just like seasonally, things like pastry bags and cookie cutters and that kind of thing. I keep passing these lentils up. I really don't do well with lentils. So I'm gonna just go ahead and get rid of those. And then these sprinkles are really hard to eat. So I'll go ahead and get rid of those as well. Quick intermission to give myself a bigger bag for cookie cutters because this is something that I've collected a little bit more over time as I've had a child, because it's more fun to do cookie cutters when you have a kid than when you don't. So that has been fun. Okay, this is my spice bin, like of leftover, like excess spices, I guess, like when they don't fit in the jars. As much as possible, anything I decant, I try to buy in sizes that fit the jar that I already have to fill it up with. But, you know, occasionally that really just isn't possible. And so it's something I try to do, but it's not like it can happen every single time. So I'm just checking really quick to see if any of the spices that I was out of are things that I have extra of in here, and it is not really looking like it. So that's fine, and that just makes me know that yes, I really do need to grab those spices. And I don't really know why I keep rice in here, but I guess maybe because I don't really have any other cooking grains that I use on any kind of regular basis. So I just keep it right there. It's easy to grab. A moment of silence for the sheer volume of packaging that was in my pantry with no food in it. And so let this just be a reminder that you probably have this too. I cannot be the only one, but I do think that my pantry is looking way better than it was and definitely feels more tidy. I know what I have. I can plan some meals around those things. So that looks good to me. This cabinet sometimes gets to be a bit of a catch-all too, but this I repaired for my son the other day, so I'll put this back in his toy room. And the bread collection looks very solid. Looks like we need to eat enchiladas for the rest of our lives. So I will plan on that next time we are hosting a crowd. And then I always just like to give this kind of like a quick once over. This is our junk drawer, and while it's reasonably tidy, it certainly still does all the things that you would expect from a junk drawer. So it's always good for me to just kind of like get my hands on this, take a quick peek. I think I use these pennies for like a Sunday school lesson, so I'm gonna stick those back in my change jar. I just occasionally empty any changes in my purse into that jar because otherwise my purse feels too heavy. And I think other than that, that looks very good. And then this is just like coffee and tea drawer. That all looks fine. I think I do have another coffee pod that's not my usual. I'll put that there. Other than that, that looks fine. And now on to the lower cabinets, which are always quite doom-worthy. I think you can see that well enough. So there's just so much stuff in here. And I do think that some of the organizational systems that I've kind of put in place are working and they're good. It's just like, it's kid stuff again. And so kid stuff is always just like around because I feel like my son just goes from activity to activity fairly quickly, not always pausing between to kind of like tidy and make sure things look nice, you know, which I mean, it's not like he's like the Lord, so I don't know why I expect that kind of perfection, but I think I'm living in a fantasy land, so I'm finding some things that don't belong in this cabinet, so I am gonna go ahead and just tuck those away so that I can put them away here in a minute once I discover how much other stuff is in this cabinet that needs a home. And this is Play-Doh stuff, and my son definitely loves Play-Doh, so we get a lot of mileage out of Play-Doh. We don't really have a whole lot of it. It's just like a garbage truck and one other set, and that is plenty for us. Thing that I find I have no real place to store, but kind of need a place to store, is like gardening stuff, or like stuff that's sort of in transition. So like, for example, I ordered a couple of things that I'm going to use for my summer decorating, and so like they don't really belong in here, but they are kind of a to-do item, so I think that's why I felt like they belonged in here. And I think that's probably fine. I maybe just need like a container for it so that it doesn't just feel like just general mayhem in here. But otherwise, I think that looks fine. That's another little puzzle for my friend who is doing homeschool. I think she'll enjoy that. This is a magazine I said I would send to a friend. I'm gonna put it in my to-do file, and we'll see if I actually do that or if it just ends up not happening, which is okay. That's why the to-do thing exists. And then this, I'm a little bit embarrassed to admit that I still have these, but these are file folders, and I bought them because I want to have a green one for when I am collecting like tax information, just at a certain time of year. And so, but then I never opened them and used them, which I think about it every year, like needing one. And so I am going to keep it because I think it would be handy to have, but I am going to go ahead and just donate all of the rest of these because there's just no reason for me to hang on to these. And then that's just my gardening notebook, so I'll keep that upright because it has seeds in it and I don't want them to fall out. So as you can see, I did create a little bit of a mess. So I need to put some things away, put some things in my donate pile, that kind of thing. So I'll do that real quick. The next day I was needed in the night, but I'm gonna just tackle this front closet as the last thing that I need to do. And I do need to tackle toys, but I think I'll do that with my son later because he's becoming more and more opinionated about what stays and what goes. And honestly, sometimes he's willing to get rid of more than I am, which I'm into. So just gonna tidy this up. This is our garage entry and it's our front entry closet, and so it does get quite a bit of use, and it's just kind of always an ebb and flow. I did put a little storage system, just kind of an inexpensive thing from Lowe's, I think, and that is working really, really well. But I just need to tuck some things away, really, is all that's needed here, and I think that this will be a pretty easy fix. So yeah, it's just amazing like how we can just put things away kind of in the wrong spots, and how easily that can be fixed. This is also an area that frequently kind of houses things that need to go back to my parents' house, and so I already have a pile of things that my son has brought that need to go back, and or sometimes like he'll be wearing clothes that are from their house, so wash them and return them. My mom cut some lilacs for me and gave me them in a vase last week, and so I just need to bring a lot of those things back to their house. I have these brown bags that I use as like, I would call them go bags. So if I need to have like a larger purse set up, then I use these for teaching Sunday school and going to appointments with my son and that kind of thing. So they've both gotten a little junked up, so I'm gonna see what's in these and go ahead and just move those things along to their right locations. Here is the update on the downstairs. I did get rid of one bag of trash, and then the gray bin is things that I will be donating along with the children's toilet. My son hates that thing, and so we'll have to find another way. And then the items next to the gray bin are things that are headed back to my parents' house. One thing I like to do when I'm doing decluttering is just set aside anything that's kind of a project, and then I can tackle all of those things. I just find that there's a lot of like procrastination type of clutter around, and then also sometimes when I open a cabinet I think of something that needs to be done. So here's an example of that. When I was doing my laundry room, I remembered that I have one bulb out in the kitchen, so I need to replace that. When I was decluttering, I found this white pen, and I have ink refills for it, but I couldn't find the pen once I ordered the ink refills. These two shirts are things that really have never been worn, and so I am going to take those to the consignment shop. I just cut their tags off and thought they would work, but then they didn't, so I can't return them. And then this skirt and these jeans are still within the return window, and they have their tags still on them, so I'm going to just go ahead and return those. That box is a little potty seat that like folds down from a regular toilet seat that hopefully my son will like more so than the one that I'm donating. And then these are vases that belong to friends, so I'm going to get some flowers and fill those up and deliver them back to them, because who wants an empty vase? Okay, so that's that. I went through my whole house and just kind of touched everything. I think it took me maybe a total of about an hour and 15 minutes, and I was really able to tackle a whole lot of things. So I have a couple of action items that I'm going to tackle next, but other than that, my house feels just lighter and better. And so I hope that you have joined me today and that you got rid of a couple of boxes yourself. So yeah, here's to decluttering.